also to say thank you to Dr. Eson, because she was at the department when I was there. She was quite an inspiration to me. It's interesting that we're talking about visibility. I didn't start out being visible. I was very, very invisible. Dr. Eson can attest to the fact that I didn't take one broadcast course while I was at the department. Because I like to write, so I specialized in print. When everybody else wanted to do broadcasting, wanted to rock powder, be singing, wanted to be a celeb, as they say these days, I wasn't interested because my father was a professor of law, so writing was the way to go. So it was very interesting that I found myself in broadcasting when I finished school. The rest is history. And also to thank Professor Ijeoma as well, because I'm going to be picking up from what he said about women and politics and Nigeria. I've covered politics at channels for the last 14 years. But that's quite a long time, and I find our politics very interesting when it comes to gender, particularly election coverage. I'm not looking at coverage from the perspective of being behind the camera. I'm looking at coverage from the perspective of us that are in the studio analyzing what is going on in the field. So I'm going to look at the election situation room. How many of us know what the election situation room is? Have you ever heard of an election situation room? Fantastic. Where results are collated, you come, you gather as reporters, they tell you who has won and who has not won. One of the things I find interesting about Nigeria's election situation rooms, they're very peculiar. They're not in any designated building or space. They pop up when elections are coming, they shut down when elections are over. And so you find that they're not in any special building, maybe high-rise. Sometimes they're outside. And you know that election results never get declared the same day. 2011, 2015, the same thing. And why I'm bringing this up is because I want us to just have a look at what it is to be a reporter on the political field when an election, a live election, is being reported. So you have stories where the room is in a very dingy and dark part of town. Or perhaps it's in the market. I'm sure if you've been to Lagos or even here in Ibadan, you find you see an election office in a very crowded environment. No security. Dark when it is night. And so you want a poorly lit, poorly illuminated. When you look at the fact that you're a woman, already you're thinking, how is it going to work out? I'm going to give you some statistics. Actually, my main talk is tomorrow. My academic talk is tomorrow, so I'm just going to be giving you a brief chat, as Yeltsin has said I should do. So, there is a group called the Women's Situation Room Nigeria. And these are a group of women that came together to say, okay, we talk about women in the media, we talk about women on the field. How exactly are elections covered? So in 2015, the Women's Situation Room monitored the 2015 general elections, and they set up a 6-man secretariat in Abuja and in Port Harcourt. And their idea was, how are women journalists treated? How do women who are covering live events act, and how are they treated? So the WSR reported incidences of intimidation of pressmen and women. They talked about arson, shootings, violence, blatant electoral malpractices, and a general breach of security. And this goes on year after year. No attempt by the government, no attempt by INEC itself to put in extra security in place. So I spoke to one of our correspondents who hoped that she would go and cover the election. And we found that she said, you just make your own way. Nowhere to sleep, nowhere to put your bag down. When results are about to be collated, a very tight, cramped, crowded room, full of men. Now that is not attractive to anyone, no matter how important you think you are, or strong you think you are. So already, we're outnumbered in terms of our numbers, we're outnumbered in terms of determination. So you find that most of us are doing political analysis. You sit down in the studio, they give you a musical set. You have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guests. And you're talking, what did they do? What did they NDC do? Did you go there? Guilty as charged. But at the end of the day, I'll tell you a little story about one of our correspondents who was pregnant. And at the time she was pregnant, she had this, what a man can do, a woman can do. As they said, I know what to do, I must go. So they said, okay, fine, go and cover. Apparently, a riot broke out. People were scared, even her cameraman took off. And because they said, okay, let's give you a burly, bulky-looking cameraman who can, protect you in case. And she said, yes, I'm ready to go. They went. She wasn't, even when the violence had died down, she still could not find where the man had run off to. With her baby. The panic in the office was, if anything happens to her, if anything happens to the child, what will we say? And so that kind of ended female correspondents actually going directly. So what to do? You're on the phone. How far? So how far now? It's funny, yes? Okay, Skype now came. Okay, I can see you. Like when you finish your report, stay safe. You are in your studio, calm and safe. My point is, until things change in terms of security, until things change in terms of just the whole organization of the process, we don't have a chance. We don't stand a chance. Some people's motive is just to cause trouble, throw one bomb, just shoot it. In Nigeria, they don't even have to see the shooter, just shoot from a distance. Everybody has disappeared. And so in such a situation, what hope is there for us? What hope is there for us? Another point I would like to look at is the polling booth. And so you find a lot of women who want to participate in the election end up as monitors and observers. Because they can monitor from a distance and observe from a very safe place. So you find them monitoring the polling booth, but once there's a scuffle with the box or whatever, everybody will just disappear. 2019 is around the corner. Believe you, take it from me, nothing has changed. In fact, it's even worse. Because the budgets for this particular election, they still have not finished computing. In some areas, particularly areas where you have IDPs who have been, who are now in IDP camps or who are left where they're supposed to be, no provision for how they will vote, no box, no idea of how many people have fled, or how many people want to come out to vote. So when you even look at the structure of our elections, it's not a pretty picture. We can talk all we like and say all we want, but until things change in terms of structure, arrangements, until things change in terms of security, we will continue to be talking about this gender issue. Because even at work, when you say, oh, gender, they say, okay, no problem, but no is there. Everybody will be looking at you like, oh, are you talking to me? Of course I'm talking to you. We have one female correspondent in the north, and she's doing a fantastic job. Her name is Blessing Tuna. And how we found Blessing was fleeing crisis in that part of the country, and she hid somewhere, and somebody covered her in the crisis. The person, I think, held on to her. She married him, so they're married today. So technically, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter how many women eventually want to show up on the field. Is the environment friendly for women? No. Even if they want to say in the office, let's have 5 women on politics and just 2 and entertainment, let's show that we're serious. Will the environment allow us to participate? That's what I want us to all think about today. Thank you.